Welcome. We're here at a candidate forum. It's a very informal meeting that we're having here at the Northern Berkshire Community Television Studios, and we would like to thank them for allowing iBerkshires.com to have this little forum here today. These are for all of the North Adams candidates running in the election on Tuesday, November 5th. And what we're going to do, because this is very informal, is we're going to allow the candidates to come up and spend about a minute saying who they are, what they're running for, and why you should vote for them. And we do have members of the public here who can ask questions. We have paper and pens scattered around the tables. I will take questions, and then whoever they want to answer the question, we'll have them come up here and I'll pose the question to them, okay? So we're going to start with the candidate for mayor, and then we will work our way down through the city council and to the school committee. And so introducing you is, I have Mayor Thomas Bernard, who is running for re-election.
Good afternoon. It has been the privilege of my life to serve as mayor for the last 22 months, and I am excited, I am motivated, I am ready to continue that work in a second term if given the opportunity on November 5th. And I said this in the State of the City. I really take inspiration from a quote from Jane Jacobs that says, "Cities have the ability to be the places for everyone only when and only because they are built by everyone." And that's what we're doing together in North Adams. We're building a city for everyone, a city that capitalizes on the progress that we've made, but also a city that addresses the challenges that we face. And we do it together, we do it collaboratively, we do it by building on strength and engagement and inclusion at every level of the community. And we do it from my office and from my perspective with a focus on three guiding principles. The principles of good jobs. We've seen progress in Stanley Black & Decker and the work that they're doing in building the strength of our manufacturing sector, along with Crane & Company, which is marrying technology with craftsmanship. We're seeing it in the progress of places like the NORAD mill, which is now 50 buildings strong after less than 2 years. Tourists, which has now been recognized as one of the greatest hotels in the world. Greylock Works, and the promise of further development downtown. We're seeing it in our schools. We're seeing it in the progress of the new MCAS. We're seeing it in programs to build social emotional learning and inclusion with support from the Attorney General. And we're seeing it in our neighborhoods. We're seeing it in the work that's happening to build strong, resilient neighborhoods through partnership and collaboration. I'm excited to continue the work, and as Tammy said at the beginning, the election is on Tuesday, November 5th, and more important than who you vote for is voting. So if you're registered, please turn out to vote on Tuesday, November 5th. Take time to know the candidates, take time to know their issues, and come out and make your voice heard. Thank you. Actually, we don't have a housing shortage. We have a shortage of housing in need of redevelopment. And that's one of the things that we need to focus on, is continuing to look at investment opportunities to rehab and renovate houses in the city. There's a program at the state level called the Housing Choice Initiative, which is focused on making it easier to promote home construction. It's a great program. It's making its way through the legislature right now. A lot of mayors support it, particularly Eastern Mass mayors where they do have a housing shortage. I'm fully behind it, and the thing that I say to anybody who will listen at the state, to the point where they're probably a little tired of me saying it, is we need to match the the need for home building in the eastern part of the state with programs and funding to improve housing rehab in communities like North Adams. So I'm fully in with that, and we are working on it.
Anyone else? Okay then, thank you.
Thank you.
I would now like to, we're going to start with City Council, so we'll start with the President of the City Council, the current one, Keith Bona.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. And former city clerk just wanted me to put out there to remind people that the polls open at 9, not 7 like the federal or state elections. So if you get there too early, you won't be allowed in. But my name is Keith Bona, and this is, I'm serving now my 18th year on council, and probably the longest served, but that doesn't mean I'm more experienced than some of the councilors that are running for their first time. It really depends on what people bring to the seat. And you know, the best I tell people is look at the whole council, look at 9 figures out there that can bring a real strong mix. So when questions do come up, we at least hopefully have 1 or 2 people that may have some expertise in that area that help us with our decisions. But beyond that, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the people who have voted for me the past 9 terms, and I look forward to serving 1 more. You know, I could go down a list of things that I've been involved in, and it's a wide range of health and human service, business, art and culture, and some of those go back to my education. But as of right now, you know, one of my favorite enjoyments is being a store owner on Main Street, because I get to meet so many different people. I meet from the locals that come in, and I meet a lot of the visitors, and the abundance, and I will say abundance, of new people that are moving here. So every week I do meet some young couples, some retired couples that are buying homes, and that's exciting to see. I don't think we saw that 10, 20 years ago, but in the past 2 years, there's definitely been a resurgence of that. So I'm going to end it with, again, a big thank you. Please get out and vote, and you know, your support has been appreciated in the past. Thank you.
Okay, hold on a second.
Oh, that's right.
First, I want to say, is there anyone who has a specific question for Mr. Bona?
Thank you for that.
Okay, well then I will ask you a general. Okay. All right, then I'm going to ask for volunteers. Who would like to come up next from the City Council? I'll take incumbents first, and then we'll go to challengers. Okay. So we have Mr. Paul Hopkins. Hi, Daniel. Hello.
Hi, folks. Hi, I'm Paul Hopkins. I think I know most of you in the room. For those watching on TV, hi. I came to North Adams 37 years ago, 1982. I got out of college. I knew I wanted to stay in New England. It's a tough job market, so I started looking for a job in radio because I knew I wanted to do that. And I got a call from a guy named Don Thurston in late August of 1982, and he said, calling from WMNB in North Adams, Massachusetts. And I had applied to so many radio stations, I had to think, where is North Adams, Massachusetts? And after I figured that out, we talked, I came up for an interview, he offered me the job. I expected to stay a couple of years and move on to a bigger market. And 37 years later, I raised 4 kids in this town, sent them all through North Adams Public Schools. I worked for the radio station for 11 years. Many of you may know the name from there. Terrific place to work, terrific family to work for, the Thurstons. Moved into healthcare in 1994 and worked for North Adams Regional Hospital for 20 years until 2014. Spent the last 4.5 years working for Berkshire Health Systems in Pittsfield. And now I'm on to some new adventures. 2 years ago, I was fortunate to be elected to the North Adams City Council, and I've had a wonderful time doing it and being your representative on the council. We have some really interesting times ahead of us, and I'll say interesting because we have challenges, but I think we're on an upswing that many of us would never have imagined, as Keith Bona said 10 or 20 years ago. I think we're seeing some things that are the result of an inclusive approach to city government, an outward-looking philosophy instead of an inward-looking philosophy, the ability to say yes to people with new ideas. If I can tell you a quick story, I was on the planning board for about 20 years. And these people came to us and said, we want to rehab these old tenement houses on River Street, what is now the Porches. And they said, we're going to paint each of the buildings, 6 of them, we're going to paint each of them a different color. And at the time, we thought to ourselves, that's a crazy idea. Why would you paint them 6 different colors? Aren't they beautiful? So it's a change in the way we look at development. It's a change in the way we look at ourselves as the city of North Adams. One other thing I just want to say is I love making the connection for people. Somebody with a problem, and this happens to all of us sitting councilors, somebody with a problem says, I just don't know where to go. And they see you at Walmart or in the grocery store or wherever, and they say, can you help me out? That's probably the most rewarding part of being a city councilor. So I'll leave it at that. I'd appreciate your support on Election Day, and onward and upward. Thanks.
All right. Mr. LaForest? Okay, yes? We're asking Councilor Jason LaForest.
Where am I looking? Hi, I feel like I'm on a telethon. My name is my name is Jason LaForest. I'm a father. I'm a nurse. I'm executive director of Hoosick River Revival. I'm completing my first term on City Council. It's something that I've always been very interested in doing, but 2 years ago found that I had the time as my children were getting older, and it was a great, just a great time to get involved in helping make decisions for the city. I have been involved in writing and rewriting ordinances and legislation. I have helped elect our new police chief, which I continue to believe is the absolute best decision we could have made for the city. We've worked with the cannabis, the state level cannabis commission, and drafting ordinances regarding legalized marijuana for the city. But like Councilor Hopkins said, the best thing has just been the ability to help people and help continue to move North Adams forward. I'm happy with the education that my children and I received in the North Adams Public Schools. I believe we need to continue to support our schools. North Adams is just amazing. Paul Hopkins told a little story, so I'll tell a little story. When I was in college, first in Potsdam, New York, I sat down my first week of school with my counselor, my academic advisor, sorry, not counselor, academic advisor. And as I was sitting there, I noticed just to my right, at shoulder level on the wall, was a picture, a postcard, an older postcard of the hairpin turn. And I asked my academic advisor where she got that, and she told me that she and her husband in the 60s had come to North Adams for their honeymoon. And when I was in college, I spoke about North Adams so lovingly that when I ran for council a couple of years ago, I found out that my friends had been making fun of me behind my back, saying, oh, the trees are better, the sky is bluer, everything's better in North Adams. And because they knew how much I loved North Adams, and they were surprised that it took me so long to get involved in the political process here. But it's been an absolute honor and a privilege. Thank you for everyone at home who voted for me 2 years ago. I hope you will again, and everyone in this room also. Thank you so much.
Okay. So I'm just checking too. If anyone has questions, let me know while the candidates are up there if there's anything we want to specifically ask them. Okay, and so, yes, Marie. Okay, Councilor Marie T. Harpin. And then we'll go to Councilor Benjamin Lamb.
So hi, I am Marie T. Harpin. I am running for my second term on the City Council. I grew up in North Adams. I started my education here at Haskins Elementary School. And I graduated from MCLA with an MBA in 2014. So I have the honor of saying that I have been completely educated in North Adams. So I have that honor, which I'm proud of. I did move to Adams for a short time, but I came back to North Adams, so my children actually went to school in Adams. Trying to think of some other things that are important. I feel as though as a counselor, I am very active to listening to people when they call. And I'm very active in responding and trying to get answers for them and helping them in any way that I can. I'm also very involved in issues throughout Berkshire County. I feel as though I'm very politically involved, both on a state and a Berkshire County level. I have done things. I've gone to MMA trainings and also workshops that were important, and I'm constantly hearing things about North Adams when I am in Boston or Pittsfield or Worcester. I hear good things about North Adams, and so I try to represent North Adams in a positive manner, and I also try to make sure that I hear the people in the community and respond to it. I have a background in business that started at KB Toys in the 1990s, and I worked there for 10 years in operations and accounting and finance. I then went to a land finance company after that because it was closer to home and I was bringing up my 2 children. So it gave me a little more flexibility with that. I worked there for 8 years and then I was laid off because the finance industry just, fell apart in 2008. And then I started working for an energy company, and I still work for an energy company. I'm in renewable industry. And it's something else that's very important to me is green energy. I have supported the Mass Solar Program in North Adams, and I continue to support Green NA, which is providing sustainability and education in North Adams. So I have a wealth of experience, and I have an open door, and I feel as though I'm approachable, and I respond to people. So I would certainly respect your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. And now Mr. Benjamin Lamb.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Lamb, and I am a candidate for City Council. First off, thank you, Tammy, iBerkshires, as well as NBCTC and everyone who came out today. So I am now finishing up my 3rd term on City Council here in the city, and it's been a distinct pleasure. My quick kind of 30-second who I am. I'm a father, so I'm Otto's dad. Most of you might know me that way. Husband, I'm a PhD student. I'm currently the Director of Economic Development for the region. And prior to that, I worked at Williams College for 8 years in student life, so working with student organizations and really helping them to figure out how to make a way in the world as well as on campus. I have been a small business owner here in the city before, but really what I love most about this job is that I'm able to take my ability to listen to folks and apply research and knowledge from the outside and then help to come to an ultimate conclusion and work with others within the city and outside of the city to make things come to fruition. I love North Adams. I bleed North Adams. I choose to live here and love here in North Adams. I went to MCLA. I graduated from there in 2007, got my master's degree in higher education, and I'm currently getting my PhD, which is a hybrid in education and economic development. So those tend to be sort of the focus areas that I end up seeing myself in, but really as looking at what I've done in the past and looking at what I'm doing going forward, really continuation of a lot of the work that we're already doing. The council has been really productive. The city has been really seeing that shift that a couple other candidates mentioned, where we are seeing this new level of growth and opportunity and development. But there's a couple things that I think we still need to focus on. One really being public safety, and that in all ways, shapes and forms as it applies to our community both now and in the future. Not letting it just be a short-term outlook, but really looking long-term and how we're planning accordingly. This idea of wraparound economic development, where we're really trying to include all of the pieces that make it a great place to be. Right? We have this really rich history. We cannot let that go away. We can't let that be forgotten. But we do need to do is steward that into a future where we are making sure that we're still supporting our social service organizations. We are being sure that folks can age in place and don't necessarily have to be forced out of their house for one reason or another. We need to do all these things that accomplish those things with our current population and our current folks, but then also being welcoming and drawing in a new population to the region because we need to grow, right? So growth is development. And then the last piece there that kind of connects to those pieces is this idea of inclusive redevelopment that we've been focusing on through a number of community conversations and dialogues. I think that really brings all those pieces together and makes sure that nobody gets left behind. And so really figuring out what are our community standards when it comes to that and continuing to apply that to the work we're doing in council chambers, but then all of the work that we each do individually outside in the community, because we wear that council hat in one respect, but we're also people that live here and work here and do a lot of great things in the community otherwise. So I thank you. I hope to receive your vote on November 5th, and thank you to all of my fellow candidates for coming out today and sharing their thoughts as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think that is all the incumbents. I just want to make sure if anybody has a question, because I know that the elected officials also have another event that they are planning to go to within the next minute or so. So if anyone has a question for them specifically, okay, then we will go on to those running for re-election. And I'm Ms. Lisa Blackmer, who is running for re-election to the City Council.
My life story. Hi, I'm Lisa Blackmer. I was not born nor raised here in North Adams, but I chose to live here for the last 33 years. My husband and I moved our family here. They went to school. They both graduated from Drury, did quite well. One went on to state school, one went on to Boston College. So they were a product, and I would say a pretty good product, of the North Adams school systems. I spent 10 years on the city council, where I was president, vice president, and chair of I chaired both, the finance committee, the community development committee, and the public safety committee. I was also fortunate to serve on the governance committee at a time when the late Gail Caridi was the chair, and she taught me a lot about how to write ordinances, and yes, it's not fun, it's not sexy, it's in the weeds, but it's really important to how the city functions. So I was glad to have had that opportunity to be mentored by her. Also as a city councilor, I served on the board of the Massachusetts Municipal Association and eventually was elevated to be their president. I was the Western Mass representative for cities and towns there. I was the voice for regional equity. I constantly spoke at the State House on issues such as regional equity in transportation, regional equity for funding for housing and economic development, regional equity for everything, because we kind of get lost in the shuffle sometimes out here. We don't have a large population, and we don't even have a huge legislative delegation, so we have to be mighty in all of us. Some of the issues I worked on were also zoning and planning, the medical marijuana law that went through, the recreational marijuana law that went through. I worked on tweaking the legislation to be better accommodating to cities and towns. I am a graduate of MCLA with my undergraduate and my master's degree. And I recently finished a certificate in municipal leadership offered through Suffolk University. It's a master's part of their public policy, public affairs program. I am a treasurer and a tax collector, so my day job is I get paid to take other people's money. And I'm fortunate that I've never had a complaint, and that's not a job that you get. You get a lot of complaints, so I'm very fortunate that I've been able to provide good service in that field. I understand the budget process. I understand the different steps that are taken. I understand that things that we don't understand are a lot of times mandated by the state, and I'm usually pretty good at articulating where things come from. When I was on the city council for 10 years, I came to the meetings prepared. I would do a lot of research. I would ask questions of the administration, the staff. I would reach out to my colleagues across the state, because I'm a true believer in why reinvent the wheel. If somebody else has done it, let's learn from them. And I would come to the meetings prepared. I was even known to change my mind, particularly when some of my counselors or people who from the public spoke, who might not have spoken to me, spoke up about an issue. I've actually changed my mind. So yes, it can be done. But I felt it was really important to understand the issues and to do the work, a lot of it behind the scenes, not always in front of the camera. So I'm running for city council. I hope that you come and vote. If you can't vote on election day, please know that you can absentee ballot, and just to call the city clerk's office at City Hall, and you can absentee ballot till noon on Monday. And it's really important for everybody to get out and vote. And I hope to see everybody on election day, and if you have questions, please contact me. I'm on Facebook. My phone number's there. And thank you again for showing up, and don't forget to vote on November 5th.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Blackmer? Okay. Who would like to go next? Okay, Mr. Brian Sapienza, who is running for election to the City Council.
And good afternoon, everybody. I'm Brian Sapienza. I'm running for City Council. I'm a native of North Adams. I lived outside the area for a short period of time, but I was born and raised here by my two wonderful parents who are here in the audience today. A little bit about myself. This is my second try at running for City Council, and with your help, I hope to become a councilor in January. I have a Bachelor's of Science degree in Business Administration from MCLA. I also hold an Associate's degree from BCC in Engineering Technology. When I first came back to the area, I was an electronics technician with Yankee Atomic Electric. Now I'm working with KM Motors. I'm the parts manager for the Toyota store up on West Main Street. A lot of the things I would like to see in the city is we are moving in a forward direction. I'd like to continue that momentum and keep things moving in a forward direction. We have a lot of issues in the area. We have a lot of dilapidated housing. We have to look at our infrastructure. We have to look at what makes up the community, the folks that live and work here, and make this a great community. And we have to take care of them as well. We have to take care of the people that have been here a long time. We have to take care of the people that are coming into town, making this their residence because they chose to be here. As with a lot of the other candidates, I do love the city. I was always, when I lived in Daytona Beach, Florida, I was always the kid known as the kid from North Adams. I was always talking about my hometown, and I guess my heart was always here, and that's where I want to be, and this is where I am, and I hope to provide a service for those of you who elect us and be your voice in the City Council and to the city government. I'm also a member of the Public Arts Commission. I've been the member since 2018. I also helped shape the current ordinance for the Public Arts Commission and help get that smoothed out, and now we have a good Public Arts Commission, and it's looking good. Other than that, I would appreciate that if you would come out and give me a vote on November 5th. I'll do my best to serve you, and again, thank you very much, and appreciate your time, and thank you for coming down. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And who would like to go next? Mr. Cardamino? Mr. Cardamino? Okay. Mr. Robert Cardamino, who is running for City Council. No. Just don't go too far. Don't go too long.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on such a nasty day. It's too bad it wasn't a little better day. We'd have probably had a better audience. But anyway, I would like to let you know that I am the youngest of 9 children. I was educated in North Adams all the way up through high school. Right after high school, which I left in January, and I did get my degree, diploma, I joined I enlisted in the U.S. Navy permanently. You know, I was in the Navy Reserve before that, and I went active duty for 2 years. And that was in January 10th, 1955. The war ended in July 25th of 1955. I am a Korean War veteran, and I'd like to set the record straight. I never claimed to be a combat veteran, and I explained that at the council meeting. I was on a destroyer in the East Coast when I enlisted. And I also, after I served my active duty, I was still on call for the next 4 years, because it was, back then, it was 8 years of obligated duty. I would just, and I am a service-connected disabled veteran. And I just want to set that record straight, because there's some rumors floating around to the contrary. After I returned home, I went to trade school in Pittsfield to learn body and fender work. I'd done that for 4 or 5 or 6 years, and then I got a job with the General Electric as a welder. I went through many departments, and I finally wound up in ordnance, and I took the welder's test to become a certified Navy welder. After that, I was chosen to be an inspector, because I had a very good background in reading blueprints. And I've worked in almost every department in the GE, and especially in ordnance, which I was a very, very tough inspector, because I knew that once that equipment got aboard ship, it better work. And one of the reasons I'm running for city council, last year, we used to be able to speak on agenda items, every agenda item for 2 minutes. Well, the council didn't like that, because they said the meetings were too long. Well, I say if the meetings are too long, don't run for council. You know, if we have to be there till 12 o'clock at night, that's what our job is. I want to represent the people, not only with taxes, but with, I want to have what they call open checkbook, so we have some transparency. With this open checkbook, you'll be able to get online and find out where all the expenditures are, where they're going, right down to the last penny. What money is coming in, where it's going, how it's spent, what the budgets are. There's everything going to be right there. But you know something? That came before the city council, and they rejected it. Why did they reject it? We need transparency to let the people know where their money is being spent. And they say that there's no wiggle room in the budget. Well, there certainly is. There's so many things that could be cut, and we're going to have to cut it, because we cannot keep raising taxes the way it's going, because our seniors and even our young people are not able to maintain their houses. We have empty houses in every neighborhood. Our population is going down. We are about 12,085 people right now, and they're still leaving. We have to be able to collect, bring in some jobs. And I have an idea on how to do that, because $12 an hour does not buy you a house in North Adams unless it's dilapidated and you have a lot of money to invest in it. And that's one of the reasons our young people are leaving. You want me to cut it short? Okay.
I I want you to say what you need to say, but, just,
Excuse me?
I want you to be able to say what you need to say, just kind of move it along, that's all.
Yeah. And one of my accomplishments that I'm very proud of was to bring back 2 positions, which used to be directors. And I'm talking about the fire chief and the police chief. We are a city, and I grew up, we had fire chiefs and police chiefs. And out throughout Massachusetts, that's what they have. And I'm glad we're back into the fold. I was a former Lions member when our club was very active. I am a member of the American Legion. I am a member of the American Legion Riders, which we all support the veterans of this area. And when I talk about jobs, I want to explain how I think we can get jobs back, because they do it in Pittsfield. They just got 2 very good industries that's going to expand. And I suggest that we take some money from the City Development Corporation and hire a PR person. Send them down to New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, where they have a lot of industry. Bring the CEOs up here one at a time for a weekend. Show them what we have here. Ask them if they'll bring their business here. And show them that we have the room for them, and we can give them a tax break. And I'm sure that once they see Williams College is close, and MCLA, and the golf courses around, there's no traffic jams for them, and we have a quality of life here, whether you realize it or not. But, I'm sure we can attract some industry. But we are not trying. I don't see anybody. They talk about it, but there's nobody trying. They talk about increasing our population. They're not trying.
Okay? I think we're,
I would like to see also going through the
well, say it quickly, because
no, wait a minute.
it's time for the next person.
Huh?
And I have a question to ask you.
I would like to see the ordinance book looked into. We make ordinances one after another. And what good is an ordinance if they don't enforce it? Mm-hmm. And what I'm talking about is recycling. We have an ordinance to recycle and separate our plastic from garbage and metal. And it's required by the people who pick up the trash to have that separated, and we're not doing it. Also, an ordinance, you must shovel your sidewalk. Well, that not being enforced. And if we got to have the residents shovel their sidewalks, I want to know why we send down on Main Street a plow and clean all the merchant sidewalks. If it's good for the goose, it ought to be good for the gander.
Okay.
So
Thank
that's
you.
impossible, but I know, but this is some of the things that I want to address.
Okay.
And taxes are the most important.
Yeah. Okay, so I do have a question that somebody had asked me, a question for you, okay? Because you have been combative in the past with the city council, you were banned from City Hall for a time, and you had a...
Wait a minute, I correct that.
Yeah, but you were banned for a time, and then
Wait a
you...
minute, correct that. They tried to ban me.
You were actually outside. You could not enter the building. So for a time you were banned, and then they lifted it. So, and then there was a restraining order taken out on you by a former city councilor. So based on that, how can you work productively with the councilors?
I can respect the other councilors.
Get in the microphone.
I can respect the other councilors' opinions, and if I have something to say, I hope they respect my word. and I have made many, many suggestions, okay? Just because I have called out different counselors by name, which is
Would you do
a
that?
which is a no-no,
Right,
that's
correct.
why they had forced me out of here. And when they sent me out and said I couldn't come back in, I got the ACLU to send that council a letter, and they had to rescind that order, and I never missed a beat.
Okay, all right then. Thank you.
And I will continue to speak up, whether they like it or not.
Okay,
Before the citizens of this city.
all right, thank you. And now, I think the final one is Mr. Roger Urban, who is running for city council. Got to get your hand up. You got to get out there.
A lot of interesting talk. Very, very good. My name is Roger Urban. I currently live in North Adams, but for most of my youth, I lived in Adams. I went to school here till the 3rd grade at Houghton School, if any of you remember it. And then my folks moved to Adams, and I was there. Who's sewing stuff? I was there till I graduated from college. I went to college here at North Adams State at the time, have a BS in education with a minor in English and history. From college, I went directly into the Navy, into an officer's training program. I was a Navy lieutenant. When I left the Navy, I was in for 8 years. I spent 2 tours in Vietnam. Not the best days of my life, but they were interesting. When I came back to the States, I met my high school sweetheart, because my first wife had passed away, and we've been together ever since, and she's from North Adams. So we decided, we were living in Pennsylvania at the time, I loved it down there. She said, we're moving back to North Adams, and I said, yes, sir, and we came back, and I haven't missed a beat. I like it here. I've always enjoyed it here, and I think we're on the verge of something great happening to this area. And I mean on the verge of it. We need help from everybody, from council, from the state, and especially from the citizens. One of the reasons I'm running for council is I see things right around the corner that we can do, that can be done, that we haven't tried yet, okay? We talked about taxes. We do need to reduce taxes. I'm not a homeowner, I rent. But I can promise you this, if taxes go up for the homeowners, my rent is going to go up. So that's not an argument as far as I'm concerned. However, I think we can deal with the tax issue by being smart about what we spend money on and how we spend it, okay? We have to look at every item in that budget very carefully. When I was in business, and I spent 32 years in a Fortune 500 company, ended up as a junior executive, we had things that were nice to do, need to do, and must do. And I think we have to look at that same formula when we look at our budget for the city. Nice to do, need to do, must do. The must do obviously has to get done, and we all know what those things are. Do we have money for the need to do? Well, we should. Do we have money for the nice to do? Not necessarily. And sometimes those things won't go. I think that I can bring a good deal to the city council. I'm a hard worker, somewhat innovative. I'm able to deal with people fairly well. Most of you know that I'm part of the Hillside Restoration Group. I began that group. There are 3 of us. There are now 6 of us that do that work. And we're restoring an old cemetery. People that work up there enjoy it. They like it. We did a little get-together last night, and 2 of the ladies who come up on a regular basis to clean stones I said, why do you come up and do this? It makes them feel good. They like it. So if anybody would like to come up someday and see what we do, we won't put you to work, unless you want to. You're welcome to come on up and see. Come the election day, I would really appreciate your vote, and I can promise you this, I'll work very hard for each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone here running for North Adams School Committee? All right, Ms. Emily Donis. You are running for election, right? Yes. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Let's see. I'm not sure that's fine. Thank you all for coming out today in this rainy day. I left my husband and kids home. The kids had determined that today was a pajama day, so I was very sad. I had to get dressed and come out here, but glad some of you showed up. Thank you. And to you folks at home, thank you for watching. I am actually reasonably new to the area. We moved here a couple years ago, but in a way I look at that as kind of good news now that we've listened to all the city council candidates talking about people leaving. I'm happy to say 5 of us have moved to the area. I have 3 children. They are at the Cold Grove Elementary School, and I am really excited to get involved and to bring my expertise to the public school systems. We have had, sorry, let me step back for a second. It is so much scarier being up here than it looks. Everybody made it look so easy. All right. We've been immensely impressed with the school systems here, and we want to share that excitement and that joy that we've had with more in our community, and want to bring, like I said, my expertise to the committee. Personally, I have been a fundraiser for the past 15 years. I've worked for healthcare organizations, I've worked for universities, I've worked for many small nonprofits, and right now I work for the Clark Art Institute in Williamstown. My experience is in strategic planning, in marketing, of course in grant writing, and I would like to bring those skills to support our schools. I would really appreciate everybody's vote. I know I'm a new face to the area, but it's been a real joy campaigning and getting to know more people. I, if elected, would certainly love to listen to all of my community members and hear the agendas and nuances that they would expect happening in our schools and bring that to the committee meetings. And I would really appreciate your votes. Thank you very much.
And I think that is it for North Adams School Committee. I just want to say that incumbent committee member Tara Jacobs was here earlier for the meet and greet but had to leave. So now we're going to go on to the McCann School Committee, and I believe we have 2 candidates for McCann School Committee here. And who would like to go first? And it's Shannon Santelli, is it correct? Yes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shannon Santelli, running for North Berkshire Vocational Regional School District School Committee. That's more commonly known as, as McCann. Okay, McCann School Committee. I have been in North Adams my entire life. I have a sociology degree from MCLA, which was still North Adams State College at the time. I later studied community psychology at the Sage Graduate School in Albany. I am married to my high school sweetheart. I am the mother of Amelia, a sophomore at McCann. And the reason that I decided to get involved when I saw that there would be a potential vacancy is that I had noticed there's very little parental involvement in the school committee. There's 15 current members of the McCann Tech School Committee, and only one of them currently has a child enrolled at the school. So I think that parent participation on school committees is essential. When parents are on the school committee and we're discussing current policies or the implementation of new ones, a parent is doing so with the most important thing in the world in their mind. And that's a unique and valuable perspective. And I would like to see more parent involvement, so I'd like to be that person. I have some what I think are great ideas, things that I would like to see the school committee take on, which is to develop a more comprehensive curriculum on substance use education, prevention and intervention. We're meeting the state requirements both at McCann and in North Adams and really throughout the Commonwealth, but as an addictions professional, I think those requirements are woefully inadequate. So I would like to see us using, currently they're using the Botvin Life Skills Program at a minimum. I'd like to see them expand and do the parent program that comes with that, involve parents more in the discussion, possibly holding workshops for parents on this subject, and just kind of engaging the community, bringing treatment professionals in to assist in this way, and just really helping our teachers, because while we've always had an addiction issue in this country and most other countries in the world, we're really in a crisis right now, and we need to do better, and we need to not only do better for our kids and our families, but we need to help our teachers more than we are, in my opinion. I also would like the school committee, I'm sure they have in the past, but to take up the discussion about whether or not it's feasible to expand the post-secondary program to include some more of the offerings that they do in the high school. For example, certificates in web design or computer-aided drafting, things that are going to help the people who are here possibly be more employable in what is clearly a changing employment environment in the Berkshires and elsewhere. I skipped over the part where I tell you that I am an addictions counselor. I manage the outpatient, intensive outpatient program for the Breen Center. I teach driver alcohol education here in North Adams in conjunction with the Department of Public Health and the local district courts. Again, as I said, I'm up against some really fantastic people. My opponents are people who are personally known to me, that I just adore in every way. And so I would not only be thankful for your support on November 5th, but because my opponents are so amazing, I would also be very humbled by it. Thank you.
And we have Mr. Peter Breen, who is also running for McCann School Committee.
Hi, my name is Peter Breen, and I grew up in the western part of North Adams in the West End in a large family. There were 5 kids. And education was always a very important part of our life. And I went through school locally here, graduated from Drury High School, and went to St. Michael's College in Burlington, Vermont. After college, my wife and I, we both went to school up in the area. She went to Trinity. We decided we're going to return to our hometown to start a family. So we came back to North Adams, and we bought an old Victorian house right down near the college. It was North Adams State College at the time. And we'd work during the day, and at night we'd work on the house. And we did that for quite a few years, and I worked for Arnold Printworks, Sprague Electric. I was working in marketing and production, and I did that for about 20 years. And like anything else, things change all the time. And one thing in this area, the industry started to leave, and I found myself without a job. So we had to make a decision. Do we move out of the Northeast, move to a different area? Well, at the time, my wife and I, we decided, well, we have 2 kids in middle school, we have a mortgage, and we love our hometown. Let's look at different options. And what I did was I looked at starting a second career. And I was very fortunate to work on my second career without leaving the city. I went to North Adams State. I received a Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science and a Master's in Education. And that's where I got my software, my education part of it. And then I went to McCann's. McCann's offered Cisco network training, and that's where I got my hardware training. And I got my certificate, and I ended up in the Adams Cheshire School District, and I taught the things that I like to teach. I taught history using my degree from St. Michael's. I taught computer science with the software and the animation that I received from North Adams State, now MCLA. And I taught networking and hardware and fiber optics from my training at McCann's. So now, after teaching for 25 years, we had to make another decision. The decision, we're retired. Where are we going to go now? And we decided we're going to stay in town. Again, we loved it here. And we, about 25 years ago, we built a house up in the woods next to Natural Bridge. And we live there now. And I have to make a decision of what am I going to do in retirement. And one thing that I decided to do was to give back to the community that was so kind to us. I'm on the Hoosick River Revival Committee. We're working on improving the chutes, make sure we have chutes that we know that we definitely need, and also something that I didn't have when I was a child, to actually go in the river. I just finished writing a grant that we're waiting to hear. It's called Little Feet in the River. We're going to take all the elementary school kids and have them start studying the ecology in the different places along the river. The other thing I did about 5 years ago, Dickie Alkenbright, a childhood friend of mine, was mayor and asked me, I'd like you to be on the license board. And I take that job very seriously. And what I do is, with the other commissioners, we look at how do we make it better in North Adams. And across the street's a good example. We have a place, they took a place over that was very marginal, as we all know, and we want to improve it. So working on the license board makes sense to bring up our social and our entertainment area, and working on the Hoosick River makes sense because I love the outdoors. My reason for the McCann is I really want to go back to the education part. I have 6 grandchildren, and I call it the decade of diapers. And soon they'll all be in school, and I want to give them every option. And McCann's was very beneficial to me. Without it, I wouldn't have got the training. I would have never became a teacher. I would have never had the opportunity to stay in the area. So what I want to do is, they are twofold. When I was in high school, it was a trade school. It came literally from Drury High School, and it was just a few years old. I wanted to go away to college. I did. I came back, and they have evolved. They have 70% of their students that go to college. And what it does is, it's an institution where the kids can go, they can find out what hands-on, project-based careers that they can have, but they also can have the opportunity to go to college. So I want to help them. I want to help them write grants. I want to make sure that all the programs are running. They are at the top of their game. They are an excellent school, and they're a level 1 school, and I want to see them continue to do that, and that's why I'm running for the McCann School Committee. Please vote for me on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for anyone running for school committee? Don't all put your hands up at once. Okay. So we're sort of at the end. We do have one question that's outstanding, and that is, and I think would be for anybody. What do you think is the most pressing issue facing the community? If anyone wants to answer that question quickly. Okay, Mr. Breen? Sure.
Again, as a native of North Adams, I can go back and talk about my great-grandfather that came here in 1886 to start a business on the corner of Main and Marshall, and his son started a second business called Roberts Company. Roberts Company, everybody knows it as a clothing store. It actually started as a stationery store. But things change, and what we have to realize in North Adams, I used to work at Sprague Electric, and I used to walk down the halls, and my daughter has her law office there. Things change. It's an ever-evolving world. My son was a national park ranger in Gates of the Arctic, Alaska, because when he was 5 years old, he went in the back of the new house we were building, and he discovered Natural Bridge. And he loved the outdoors, and so he decided that's what I want to do. So he did that for 14 years, and now he's in North Carolina. He works for an organization called Waterkeeper Alliance. Waterkeeper Alliance is run by Bobby Kennedy Jr. And what Christian does is he travels all over the world helping people to have water. And he's helping us in North Adams, working with us on writing grants here also. So I think what we have to realize in North Adams is we have the potential to do many things. We all have to start walking in the same direction, working together. Not just the same ideas, but working together. And we have to do that. I have an idea of McCann's. An ideal thing would be to have the students work with the city, working on some of these dilapidated houses. They have to put in 600 to 1,200 hours of internship. The deal would be that they would work on the house, they get their hours. These are homes that are not on the tax roll. They get them on the tax roll, and the city starts to collect some money. It improves the neighborhood. It helps our kids with an education. It's a win-win-win situation. So those are the things we have to do. We have to start thinking out of the box and do things that will help everyone. Because once you do something and everything, the water goes up, everybody's helped.
Okay, all right, thank you. Would anybody else like to answer? Now, only people running for office. When you run for office, I'll let you do it too. Okay. Lisa Blackmer, who's running for city council.
Hi there. I think the biggest issue facing the city is growing the tax base, because if you can do that, we can solve a lot of the other problems that we do have. If we grow the tax base, and it's not going to be, we're not bringing in Sprague, we're not bringing in Google, we're not bringing in Amazon, but if we can bring in, either grow the businesses we have here and help them expand, because we do have some successful businesses, so they can expand their workforce and their footprint. If we can bring in other businesses, and not giant ones, because they're not going to come here. We don't have the infrastructure, transportation infrastructure. We got surrounded by mountains and roads that are not easy to travel with, travel over. But 10 jobs, 20 jobs, 30 jobs, that's the way we're going to grow the tax base. We also need to rehab our housing stock. There's grant programs, and I think we should be working on, we've got some houses that are off the tax rolls or are dilapidated, so the taxes might be being made by the bank that foreclosed on them, but they're not good neighbors. If those houses are dilapidated, it lowers the value of all of the properties around it. It makes it harder to sell your house if you live next door to one of those houses. It makes it hard to make repairs to your house and to do the things you need to do. They're not good neighbors, so I think we need to work on the legislation that we have. We have an ordinance regarding absentee mortgage holders. I know absentee landlords are a problem too, but absentee mortgage holders are a real problem. So if we can get rid of a lot of the blight, and I think that Mr. Breen brought up some really good points about how to work with McCann's. The other issue we need to have, there's a big disconnect between the jobs that are available in Berkshire County and the skills that our workers have. So we need to, again, work with McCann, work with other agencies on workforce development, on job training, so that everybody can have a piece of the pie. If we do that, we have a bigger pie, so everybody's piece is a little smaller. Their tax bill won't be as high. If we can grow these jobs and grow these businesses, we can have the money to invest in our infrastructure and in our services and in our community. So thank you, and again, vote for me on, please vote for me. I ask for your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else? All right, Brian. Brian had his hand up first, and then Shannon, and then Emily. Okay. Most pressing problem, not all of them. I know
Okay.
everybody's going off a little bit, that's fine, but yeah.
Okay, what my idea, the most pressing problem right now in North Adams is our infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I don't mean just the sidewalks of the buildings or the pipes in the street, but infrastructure also consists of education. We have to have a good foundation for our children. We have good schools, we want to make them better. We have great schools. Again, we have a great asset. We have McCann Tech here in North Adams. We have Drury High School, the Cold Grove Elementary School, and all the other schools in the city. We have great institutions. We have one great higher learning education, MCLA, which myself, I'm a graduate of. And we need to make sure that these institutions, not so much the MCLA, but our city institutions are well funded and our children are getting great education. The infrastructure, as far as the physical stuff, the piping in the streets, we have a great water filtration system, but if you're putting it through 150-year-old pipes, you're not going to get a quality product on the user end of the system. I would propose that if we can obtain federal, state, some type of grants to get out and get these pipes replaced so we have better water systems. Also, one of the things I'm very strong on is public safety. We need a good public safety department, both police and fire. Our fire department, we have a great fire department, we have a great police department, but they need a better building to work in. Firefighters and police officers call this their house, and there's a reason, because firefighters spend a lot of their lives away from home in this building. They live there, they eat there, they sleep there. They need a decent, well-equipped structure to keep them happy and to keep them to be able to do the best job that they can do. And we know that when we pick up the phone and dial 911, we've got great people coming to help us when we're in need. So therefore, that's why I feel it's the most pressing issue is infrastructure. And thank you again. I'm Brian Sapienza, and I would appreciate your vote on November 5th. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Okay. And now I'll call up the, I'm sorry, Ms. Santelli. And I have another question, if you can take the most pressing, or if you want to take this one, which has been asked to me, about special needs students, and how, as a member of the school committee, you would be supportive or would advocate with the administration to provide more support to these students, and particularly in connecting them perhaps with mentors who will understand their disabilities.
Sure, okay. I'll take the second one because that's a little bit more to my,
Sure.
But I wanted to say with regard to the problem, I'm not going to say what I could go on a list forever with, and the point is, there's so many people who can and do go on the list of what's wrong in North Adams. And what was in the back of my mind through these last few forums I've been at, and didn't say because that's not the role I'm running for, is I've told people all the time that I remember this town in the 1980s and in the early 90s. I was a teenager. Sprague closed, GE started massive layoffs. My friends were moving out of town because their parents lost their jobs. You walk down Main Street, the storefronts were empty. There was nothing to do here. And the transformation of this town over the last 15, 20 years, for anybody who's been here their whole lives, is nothing short of a miracle. I call it the little factory town that could. You walk down Main Street and it's just, what a difference. And so I think it's nice sometimes to just say and acknowledge the fact that we're worlds away from where we were 20 years ago, regardless of our problems. So anyway, okay. So what was the other question?
Would you advocate for special needs students, particularly in connecting them to people who could mentor them and people who understand what their issues might be as disabled people? Is that a fair question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's a fantastic question. I know there's a lot of services that come into place for kids in the school through the IEP, Individualized Education Plan, as well as 504. Those are fantastic laws that follow kids who have them right up all the way through college to assist anybody who needs an accommodation in the learning environment. But as far as having a mentor, I don't know that any of our local schools have anything like that in place. I've certainly never heard of that. My own child has a 504 because of a medical condition, and as a parent, I've never been made aware that that exists. But I'll say this, because I'm an addictions professional, people, many of the people that I've met, not myself included, but that do that work are themselves people in recovery. I think the statistic that I heard most recently from the Department of Public Health is that it's more than 70%. And the reason for that is that the idea is that nobody is more equipped to help those people succeed than people who truly know what they're going through and where they've been. And so I think the same would hold true for mentors and advocates for, yeah. Yeah, I do know that, and I think that you know, reminding people or running workshops for teachers. Teachers get a half a day or teachers' days, and kids get so excited. But the reason that that happens is because they put them into things and make them learn new things or stay current on the old stuff. So I certainly think that's a concept that could be worked into the teaching of the teachers. So thanks for the question. It's a good one.
Thank you. And now Ms. Donis, who is running for North Adams School Committee.
Hi. Okay, so the original question was
You can answer both, or you can answer either.
Great. All right, well, I'll start with the first question, pressing issue, which, of course, North Adams, I'm focusing specifically on the school committee, but in that sense, education is a huge factor in the choices that new families make in choosing to move to an area. So I feel really strongly that I want to assist with getting the word out that our schools they're doing great, and they're producing really successful, great kids, and that the teachers and the superintendent are working really hard to provide a safe and comfortable place where learning excellence, is there for everyone. So, that to me is a wonderful pressing issue to help move in some of the families, perhaps from Williams College or other new businesses starting up in Pittsfield, to choose North Adams, to choose to buy a home and invest in that home and invest their family in the area.
Okay.
So thank you on that. Second question.
The second question, I think, is would you be supportive of special needs students, addressing their needs, and be an advocate possibly for some type of peer mentoring program for special needs students?
Absolutely, and let's talk after. No, I think it's the more we can work to connect the fabulous services, with the school systems, the better for everybody. And of course, mentor programs are a wonderful, new view for young people on folks who are a little older. So I'd say that's a great idea. If it's not already being done, I would certainly love to bring that to the table for any type of mentorship program that would benefit, let's say, kids with special needs, kids that are top achievers. There's all sorts of different needs for the wide range of children that we serve with the public schools. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions anyone would like to ask of the candidates? Yes, what?
No, I want to answer.
Oh, well, go ahead. Yep. And this is,
My most important, and then it was what, drugs?
well, that was for the school committee. So, yeah, because they're the ones who would be advocating. So a question that we're being sort of asked of everybody is, what do you think is the most pressing need, the most pressing issue in the city?
I think the most pressing issue is jobs. We have some wonderful schools. We have McCann's, and they're training. I I don't know how many students, but if you add up all the schools around this area, between 300 and 500 students are graduating from school, and there's no jobs for them. That's 300 to 500 every year. And our population's going down. These kids are moving out of school. And when I have a stepdaughter, they're from a third world country. She come home complaining to her mom. Mom, I've had that in school. I've had that. Now, if you have a child that comes from a third world country and is complaining about the education system, something's lacking. Because if they got a better system in a third world country, we better start looking at our own, our schools, and improve it.
Then
But
then why aren't you running for school committee?
Well,
No, it's a
don't
question.
forget,
Yeah,
that
it's a
school
question.
committee budget comes before the council.
Okay, all
Okay?
right. So,
So that has got to be important, just as important to the councilors as it is to anybody else. And that's the big question. You know, everybody wants to infrastructure, this, that, fire department, new buildings, this and that. The trouble is, where do we get the money? Everything's based on money. We can't raise taxes. Because you raise taxes, you're driving business out because they can't afford to be here. And we still have empty stores on Main Street. So we got to try to balance things.
Okay.
You know. Well, thank you for the extra time.
yeah, no, you're welcome. You're welcome. Anyone else? Anyone else with a question for any of the candidates? I think. All right. Okay, I'll go to this one. I want to thank everybody who came out today. I had hoped that we would have more of the public to attend this. I think it was a really great time to be able to mingle and talk with the candidates and be able to ask them questions that everybody else could hear. I want to thank Northern Berkshire Community Television for allowing us to have this here. I think what we did have was really great. We heard some really great answers. And I also want to say that I forgot to say that council candidate Peter Leskowitz also had been here during the meet and greet portion, and he had to leave because he had a professional obligation and was not able to stay. But we really had a great time with people, about an hour, you know, getting the chance to talk and mingle with the candidates, and I'm glad that was able to happen. So again, don't forget to vote Tuesday, November 5th. Beginning at 9 a.m. Don't go early. Go at 9. That's when the polls will open. And everyone, please, please vote. Thank you.